You have been taught all your life to measure yourself against others. From childhood, the world whispers in your ear, be faster, be smarter, be prettier, be richer. You were told that the measure of your worth is found in comparison, in competition, in standing taller while others remain small. But what if I told you that the pursuit of outshining others is nothing but a trap? What if the real race has never been between you and another soul, but between you and the parts of yourself that still remain The truth is piercing. A person who has conquered themselves no longer needs to compete. They are already beyond the reach of envy, beyond the reach of comparison, beyond the restless craving for approval. For the crowd is busy measuring themselves against one another, while the master of self has risen to a higher ground where no rival can reach. You see, weakness is not outside you. Weakness is within. It is in the fear that keeps you paralyzed. It is in the craving that leaves you chained. It is in the anger that burns bridges before you can cross them. It is in the pride that blinds you to truth. These are your real competitors. Not the neighbor who seems more successful. Not the friend whose life looks perfect on the surface. Your true battle is with the chaos inside. The impulses that try to rule you. The emotions that beg to be obeyed like masters. Let me tell you something many refuse to accept. Until you silence the storm within, every victory outside will feel hollow. You can win the applause of thousands and yet be tormented by one secret fear. You can build wealth, power, or status, yet remain a slave to envy, bitterness, or lust. The chains of the soul are heavier than any chains of iron, and only those who master themselves will ever be truly free. But mastering yourself does not happen in comfort. Growth is born in friction, in resistance, in the daily battle to discipline the mind and steady the heart. Every time you restrain your tongue when anger urges you to lash out, you are building mastery. Every time you choose patience when impatience claws at you, you are building mastery. Every time you keep walking when despair tells you to quit, you are building mastery. These unseen victories, though small to the world, shape you into someone unbreakable. And here is the paradox. When you stop competing with others and begin conquering yourself, you surpass them all. Not because you set out to be above them, but because most people never fight this battle. Most remain distracted, looking left and right, comparing themselves endlessly, chasing validation from those just as lost as they are. They measure themselves by shadows while the one who seeks inner mastery walks in light. There is a scripture that reminds us, better is the one who controls their spirit than one who takes a city. Think of that. The world praises the conqueror of nations, but the divine perspective exalts the conqueror of self. Because a city can be taken by force, but the self can only be ruled by wisdom, discipline, and surrender to truth. So ask yourself, are you conquering cities or are you conquering yourself? Are you busy proving yourself to others or are you busy refining your soul? For one path leads to exhaustion, envy, and endless striving. The other leads to peace, strength, and unshakable freedom. And do not think this mastery is some distant ideal. It begins in the small choices of your day. When you rise in the morning, do you command your thoughts or do your thoughts command you? When temptation whispers, do you bow or do you stand? When life disappoints you, do you crumble or do you endure with dignity? These moments are the arena where the real war is fought. And let me assure you, no man, no woman, no circumstance can take this power from you. They may insult you, they may betray you, they may leave you, but they cannot dictate how you respond. They cannot own your soul unless you surrender it. That is your battleground. That is your crown. The crowd may spend their days trying to outrun one another, but if you would dare to master yourself, you will find yourself walking in a strength so uncommon, so unshakable, that the competition no longer matters. For when you rule your spirit, you have already surpassed them all. And so I leave you with this truth, burning like fire in your bones. The world does not need another person clawing for applause. The world needs you whole, steady, unshakable, to rise above the noise. Master yourself, and you will no longer chase greatness. Greatness will chase you. There comes a point in life when you must face the unsettling truth that not every voice deserves your ear, and not every heart is capable of walking with you where you are destined to go. For too long, many of you have measured the weight of your worth by the presence or absence of others. You've mistaken silence for rejection, distance for abandonment, and indifference for condemnation. But the divine revelation is this: sometimes the greatest gift you can receive is the moment you realize their approval was never necessary, their validation was never required, and their care or the lack thereof was never the measure of your value. Don't think about it. How many nights have you spent rehearsing the absence of someone who chose not to show up? How many days have you carried the invisible burden of wondering why they did not call, why they did not check, why they did not stay? And yet, in the stillness of that ache, a higher wisdom is whispering, release them, for the hand of God is not weakened because others did not extend theirs. The plan of heaven has not crumbled because they failed to notice you. Your destiny was never in their keeping, it has always been in His. This is where the chains of people-pleasing must break. Too many live in a cage built from the opinions of others, waiting for someone else to set them free. But you must come to the place where you stop handing out the keys of your peace to those who cannot even manage their own. There is power in acknowledging I will no longer be held hostage by the silence of others. I will no longer confuse their indifference with my insignificance. I will no longer measure my journey by who chooses not to walk beside me. This is not bitterness, it is freedom. It is the clarity that comes when you finally discern between love that nourishes and attention that manipulates, between commitment that endures and companionship that only lingers in convenience. And make no mistake, once you stop expecting people to fill what only God can satisfy, you will see their absence differently. What once felt like rejection now looks like protection. What once seemed like a curse now reveals itself as preparation. What once appeared as a loss becomes the very soil where strength and resilience are born. Do you remember Joseph? Betrayed by his own brothers, abandoned, sold, forgotten. If he had tied his worth to their care, he would have been destroyed before his destiny ever unfolded. But in their rejection, he discovered God's redirection. Their absence made room for divine presence. Their cruelty became the path to his crown. And so it is with you. Those who could not care for you in your wilderness were never meant to sit with you in your palace. Now hear me. This is not permission to close your heart and grow cold. This is a call to discernment, to stop pouring yourself into dry wells that cannot quench your thirst, to stop confusing loyalty with dependency, to stop mistaking neglect for fate. There is a greater love, a higher purpose, a deeper care that has been guiding you all along. But you cannot see it until you release the illusion that people's care defines your calling. Some of you are clinging to voices that were never meant to shape your future. You are replaying conversations with people who left, while ignoring the whisper of the one who has never forsaken you. You are waiting for apologies that may never come, while neglecting the healing that is already available to you. Why waste another day begging for scraps of attention when a table has already been set before you in the presence of your enemies? This moment is holy because it calls you to rise above the ache of abandonment into the assurance of alignment. Every time someone chose not to care, heaven was still writing your story. Every time they walked away, you were being positioned for something greater. Their absence was not the end, it was the clearing of space for a presence far more powerful, a love far more enduring, a purpose far more unshakable. So let the scales fall from your eyes. Stop waiting for the ones who left to come back and validate you. Stop holding your breath for care that was never yours to begin with. Accept the truth. No one may care in the way you once hoped, but everything changes when you see that you were never abandoned. You were being refined, pruned, and prepared, and now you stand at the threshold of a freedom you have never known. Their silence has no power here. Their absence cannot define you here. Their indifference cannot diminish you here. For what God has placed within you is greater than what anyone has withheld from you. And this is the line that will echo in your spirit long after the words have faded. When you stop chasing the care of men, you awaken to the care of God, and in that moment, you are untouchable, unshakable, and unstoppable. There comes a time when you must confront the uncomfortable truth that not everyone will match the depth of your loyalty, the sincerity of your love, or the purity of your intentions. This realization stings at first. It shakes the core of your expectations, because for years you've carried the illusion that if you gave your best, if you poured yourself out with consistency and care, surely it would be returned in kind. But the world has a way of teaching you otherwise. People are not always faithful to what is faithful. Many take what is sacred and treat it as common. And if you are not careful, their neglect will convince you to diminish the very gift you carry. But hear me. The lack of reciprocity does not make your love any less valuable. It does not render your sacrifice meaningless. What it does is expose the truth that your worth has never been dependent upon their ability to recognize it. You are not diminished by their blindness. You are defined by a purpose far greater than their perception. Consider this. A diamond buried in the earth is no less precious because the miner has not yet discovered it. Its brilliance is not lessened because it lies unseen. So it is with you. The love you've given, the sacrifices you've made, the loyalty you've shown, though they may have gone unnoticed or unreturned, are still radiant in the eyes of eternity. And every unseen act, every unacknowledged effort, is being woven into a story greater than what human gratitude could ever write. Yet here lies the tension. How do you continue to love when love is not returned? How do you remain faithful when faithfulness is not celebrated? The answer is not in shrinking back or closing off your heart, but in shifting your vision. Stop measuring the value of your devotion by how others receive it, and start anchoring it in the one who called you to give it. For real love is not a transaction, it is transformation. And sometimes, the transformation is not in them, it is in you. There is a deeper freedom waiting for you in this revelation. When you accept that not all will value your love, you stop being controlled by the fear of rejection. You stop living in the prison of unmet expectations. You stop watering barren ground and wasting tears on hearts that have no capacity to hold what you offer. Instead, you begin to see that every rejection, every cold shoulder, every silence is not a verdict against you, it is a redirection toward a higher alignment. Think of Ruth. She poured her loyalty not into the ones who left, but into the one she was called to serve. She understood that destiny is not found in clinging to those who cannot reciprocate. but in discerning who you are assigned to. Her story reminds us that your faithfulness is never wasted. It just needs the right soil to flourish. Some ground will never bring forth fruit, no matter how much seed you scatter. But when you find the soil that aligns with your calling, your harvest will be undeniable. So let this truth pierce your heart today. Not everyone will honor your devotion, but that does not mean you should stop being devoted. Instead, let it refine you. Let it teach you discernment. Let it strengthen your ability to love without chains, to give without begging for applause, to walk in freedom without needing constant affirmation. Because when your love is rooted in eternity, it cannot be cheapened by temporary blindness. Do not let disappointment make you bitter. Do not let neglect make you question your value. Do not let silence make you mute the song of your soul. Lift your eyes higher, to understand that if they could not see you, it is because they were never meant to carry you into the fullness of your destiny. Some relationships are seasonal, and when their time expires, their inability to honor you is simply the sign that your path must diverge. Don't release them with grace. Free yourself from the weight of trying to prove your worth to those committed to misunderstanding it. And remember this, your assignment was never to be universally accepted, but to be divinely aligned. So let these words settle deep. Not all will value your love, and that is the point. For your love was not crafted to be common, it was designed to be sacred, set apart, and reserved for the soil that can truly nourish it. And when you finally stop chasing after those who cannot honor what you carry, you will step into a freedom that no betrayal can bind, no neglect can diminish, and no indifference can silence. Let this be the line that echoes in your soul. Your love is not less because they failed to value it. It is more because it reveals a strength, a purpose, and a calling that no rejection can ever erase. There is a sobering moment in every life when you realize that silence is not always absence, and distance is not always rejection. Too often we mistake the quiet for neglect, when in truth the quiet is a crucible. It is in the silence that the shallow voices fade, and the deeper voice begins to rise. The distractions of the world are stripped away, and what is left is the raw confrontation with yourself, your thoughts, your motives, your wounds, your truth. And though it feels lonely, though it feels heavy, that silence is not void. It is the space where you are being reshaped. Think of the potter's wheel. That clay does not resist the pressure, it surrenders to it. It does not demand to know why the spin is endless, why the hands press so firmly, why it feels stretched beyond what it can bear. Yet it is in that unseen, uncelebrated process that shape begins to form, that purpose begins to emerge. So it is with your silence. You are not abandoned, you are being molded. The silence is not punishment, it is preparation. But hear me clearly, preparation is not comfortable. It confronts everything false in you. It forces you to face the fact that you have relied too long on applause to validate you, too long on relationships to define you, too long on temporary comforts to sustain you. And when those things are stripped away, you are tempted to believe you are empty. But in reality, you are being introduced to the treasure within you that noise kept you from seeing. Do you not see? The silence is sacred. It is where revelation whispers. It is where truth becomes sharper than the lies you've carried. It is where clarity slices through confusion like light piercing a dark room. Many resist it because silence feels like death. And in many ways, it is the death of dependence on what is fleeting, the death of illusions that once carried you, the death of voices that once defined you. But with every death, there is a resurrection waiting, and resurrection never comes cheap. It demands surrender. It requires trust. It asks you to believe that, though you cannot see the hand guiding you, that hand is steady. Though you cannot hear the plan unfolding, the plan is perfect. Though you cannot feel the affirmation of men, the affirmation of heaven has already been written over your life. Look back over your journey. Was it not in the times when you felt most unseen that the greatest growth took place? Was it not in the wilderness, when no one celebrated you, that your strength deepened, your character solidified, your vision sharpened? Stop despising the silence. Stop cursing the distance. Stop mistaking the absence of applause for the absence of purpose. You are not forgotten, you are being fortified. Consider this. A seed buried beneath the soil does not cry out because it cannot see the sun. It knows instinctively that the darkness is not its grave, but its womb. The silence is not the end. It is the beginning of something unseen yet undeniable. In time, what was hidden will break forth, not because the seed fought its burial, but because it surrendered to the process. So too with you. The distance you feel, the silence you hear, the loneliness that surrounds you, they are not verdicts of rejection but invitations into transformation. Do not run from them. Do not numb them. Do not despise them. Instead, lean in. Ask what is being birthed in me through this silence? What strength is being formed in me through this distance? What wisdom is being revealed in me through this solitude? And when you embrace the silence for what it is, when you stop seeing it as a curse and start receiving it as a classroom, something shifts. You begin to see that the silence is teaching you to trust beyond feelings, to walk beyond sight, to rest beyond understanding. You realize that you do not need constant validation to keep moving, nor constant companionship to keep believing. You learn to stand with a strength, not borrowed from man but anchored in eternity. Do not despise this hour. Do not wish it away. For what is being forged in silence will one day thunder with power. What is being birthed in obscurity will one day blaze in visibility, and the strength you gain in this season will carry you where applause never could. So let this truth settle deep in your spirit. The silence you dread is not empty, it is sacred. The distance you fear is not rejection, it is protection. The loneliness you resist is not abandonment, it is alignment. And when you come through this, you will not just survive, you will emerge unshaken, unbroken, undeniable. Here is the word that must echo in you. Silence is not the absence of movement. It is the womb of transformation. What feels like emptiness is the preparation for your emergence. And when you rise, you will rise with a strength no storm can silence and no rejection can erase. There is a deep truth that many resist because it cuts too close to the bone. The things you cling to most tightly are often the very things keeping you from freedom. You were not created to live in chains of fear, chains of regret, chains of needing constant approval. And yet, so many live as prisoners while claiming to be free. They walk through life bound by expectations, controlled by emotions, enslaved by what others think of them. But listen closely, the call is not to survive in bondage, but to rise into a liberty that cannot be stolen. A freedom anchored not in circumstances but in truth. Freedom begins with the decision to stop feeding the illusions that weaken you. How many times have you replayed words spoken against you, allowing them to echo louder than the truth planted within you? How many nights have you stayed awake, chained to memories that should have been buried long ago? And how often have you carried burdens that were never yours to carry, worrying about how others perceive you, trying endlessly to fix what was never yours to fix? Each chain grows heavier until your soul forgets what it means to breathe. But there is a voice that calls you to lay it down, to release the weight, to stop bowing to the lies that hold you hostage. That voice does not whisper from the outside. It rises from deep within. You feel it when the noise of life fades, when the distractions fall silent, when the emptiness of superficial answers leaves you unsatisfied. It is the sound of truth reminding you that chains only have power when you refuse to confront them. Consider this. A bird born in a cage may sing beautifully, but it does not know the sky until the door is opened. Many live like that bird, singing songs in captivity, making peace with their prison, convincing themselves that this is all there is. But the cage was never the destination. The door was meant to swing wide, the wings were meant to stretch, the sky was meant to be touched. The same is true for you. Your destiny was never survival in chains, it was victory in freedom. Yet freedom is not cheap. It will cost you your excuses. It will demand that you confront the lies you've lived with for years. It will require you to release bitterness, to forgive when it feels impossible, to trust when everything in you wants to resist. Freedom will expose the idols you have built, whether it is the idol of control, the idol of success, or the idol of being needed, and it will ask you to tear them down, because you cannot serve two masters. You cannot cling to chains and grasp freedom at the same time, and this is where urgency rises. The longer you hold on to the chains, the deeper they embed themselves. The longer you postpone your release, the more familiar bondage feels. But familiarity is not the same as destiny. Comfort is not the same as calling, and safety is not the same as freedom. You must decide, will you remain in the cage, or will you step into the unknown sky? Do not say you are too weak, strength comes into stepping. Do not say it is too late, time bends to those who rise in truth. Do not say the chains are too heavy, because the moment you decide to let go, their power breaks. What has bound you does not define you. What has oppressed you cannot destroy you. What has silenced you cannot bury you. Look around at your life. What chains are you still holding? Fear of being alone, the need to prove your worth, the endless pursuit of validation. These are not treasures, they are traps, and you cannot move forward while dragging them behind you. The call is not just to recognize the chains, it is to break them, and breaking begins with surrender. So today, choose differently. Choose to stop feeding the voices that weaken you. Choose to stop carrying burdens that were never meant to be yours. Choose to release the illusions that have kept you small. Step out of the cage. Stretch your wings. Taste the sky. And when you do, you will discover a truth that will change everything. Freedom was never waiting outside of you, it was always waiting within you. The chains were loud, but the truth was louder. The prison was real, but the door was already open. And the moment you step through, you will never be the same again. Here is the word you must carry in your spirit. You were not created for chains, you were created for flight. Do not bow to the cage when the sky is calling. Break free, rise higher, and never again let what once bound you have the power to silence your wings.